The church bell tolled once, sharp against the sun-baked silence, and the townsfolk leaned forward on their benches, fanning themselves with battered hats. Dust clung to boots and skirts alike, the air thick with heat and the smell of pine oil from the pews. Jonas McGraw stood stiff in his Sunday coat, fingers tugging at the collar as though it might choke him. Sweat rolled down his neck. The preacher's voice boomed, words echoing off the bare rafters. "Do you take this woman?" Heads turned, whispers rippled like prairie wind through wheat. Clara Boone lifted her chin. A veil shaded her sharp eyes, but the line of her mouth was firm as granite. Her hand, cool and steady, slipped into his. Jonas blinked once, confusion tightening his chest. The bride he had expected, soft-spoken Mary Boone, was nowhere near. It was her sister at his side, dressed in white that seemed borrowed, too severe against her widow's black eyes. The preacher paused, brows knitting, but the murmurs in the crowd rose higher. Some smirked, some snickered. The town drunk let out a wheezing laugh before someone hushed him with an elbow. Jonas's heart thudded. His lips parted, but no words came. Clara's fingers pressed tighter, commanding silence without speech. "I do," she said, her voice ringing clear, carrying through the church like the crack of a rifle. The preacher's eyes flicked to Jonas. A dozen gazes bore into him. Farmers, merchants, saloon keepers, all waiting, savoring the mistake unfolding before them. His throat burned. He thought of stepping back, shaking his head, breaking free of this absurdity. But Clara's grip anchored him. The storyteller's voice seemed to linger over the moment, though no sound but the preacher's echoed in truth. And there he stood, bound by fate's mischief, the wrong bride at his side, yet no power in him to turn away. Jonas forced the words through dry lips. "I do." A gasp fluttered through the crowd. The preacher, too weary to untangle the blunder, carried on. Rings slid clumsily on of fingers, vows sealed in heat and silence. When it was done, the church erupted, not with applause, but with chuckles, sly comments, boots scuffing in amusement. "Married the wrong one," someone whispered loud enough to be heard. "Guess McGraw can't tell his Boones apart." Jonas's jaw clenched. His new bride stood tall, unflinching, her veil trembling only from the faintest breeze creeping through the open doors. The preacher dismissed them with a weary amen, and the congregation spilled out into the blinding light, gossip crackling like dry brush fire. Children pointed, women covered their mouths with gloved hands, men nudged each other with knowing grins. Jonas stepped into the sun. Clara's arm looped firmly through his, her face unreadable. She walked as though no mistake had been made, as though this marriage was meant from the start. Behind them, laughter carried down the street. But over it all, the cicadas droned relentless, and the bell's single toll still seemed to hang in the heavy air. The windmill groaned with each turn, its rusted blades creaking above the ranch yard. Jonas shoveled grain into the trough, the rasp of metal against wood sharp in the stillness. Cattle lowed uneasily, ears flicking, dust swirling around their hooves. From the porch, Clara watched, her arms folded tight, eyes narrowed against the dying light. The horizon burned scarlet, the desert floor stretched wide and empty, but a line of smoke smudged the far sky. Jonas straightened, breath heavy, shovel hanging limp in his hands. "That fire's too close," he muttered, but Clara gave no reply. The sound came first, distant hoofbeats, faint as thunder under the earth. Jonas froze. The cattle shifted nervously, tails swishing, nostrils flaring. Clara stepped down from the porch, her boots striking the packed dirt with sharp, certain steps. By the time she reached him, the hoofbeats faded, leaving only the whine of the wind through the wire fence. Still, Jonas's jaw worked, his eyes fixed on the smoke. Crow's men. A neighbor had whispered in town that morning, hat brim pulled low. Their burning places clean through. Heading this way. The memory gnawed at him now. Jonas spat into the dust and turned back to the trough, though his hands trembled. Clara bent, lifted a rifle leaning against the porch, and checked the chamber with practiced ease. The click echoed louder than it should have. Jonas stiffened. "You handle that like it's nothing." Clara's gaze met his, steady and unreadable. She slid the rifle shut and leaned it across her shoulder as if it were part of her. "Tools are tools," she said, her voice flat. Jonas swallowed hard. He'd seen her grip at the wedding. Unshakable. But this was different. This was muscle memory, not accident. A coyote wailed from the hills. The cattle stirred. The horizon smoldered. That night, lantern light pooled across the wooden table inside. Jonas's fork scraped against the plate, the sound brittle in the silence. Clara ate slow, unbothered, her rifle resting within reach against the wall. "Folks say Crow's gang don't leave witnesses," Jonas said finally, his voice low. Clara set her fork down, the clink deliberate. "Folks say many things." He stared at her, shadows flickering across his worn face. "You act like you've seen him before." Her eyes flicked up hard and sharp. For a moment, the air thickened between them, the cicadas outside buzzing like 1,000 whispers. Then she looked back to her plate. "I bury the past where it belongs," she said. The wind pressed against the windows, rattling the panes. Somewhere out in the darkness, a horse neighed wild and frightened. Jonas's grip tightened on the table's edge. Clara didn't move. The night settled heavy, every sound carrying sharper than steel, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Gunfire cracked down the main street, the sound shattering glass and scattering townsfolk into doorways. Horses shrieked, hooves striking sparks against stone as a gang of riders stormed through, dust boiling in their wake. Jonas pressed against the wall outside the general store, chest heaving. Across the street, men were dragged into the dirt, boots kicking as the outlaws demanded coin, whiskey, whatever could be taken. A saloon window burst outward, a chair flung into the street, laughter rising sharp and cruel. At the head rode Elias Crow, black coat flaring, a scar slashing across his cheek. His eyes swept the town like a hawk circling prey. 2 days, he bellowed, his voice rolling heavy. "You give us what's worth keeping, or we burn it to the ground." Silence followed, broken only by the soft weeping of a child somewhere in the crowd. Crow dismounted slow, spurs biting the dirt. He spat at the feet of the preacher, who dared stand near the church doors. The preacher bowed his head, trembling. Jonas's hands clenched, nails digging into his palms. He had no gun, no fight left in him. The grief of his past sat heavy, the thought of facing Crow's men near unbearable. He shifted, meaning to slip back into shadow. But Clara stepped forward. Her skirts brushed the dust as she moved, her face hard, eyes unflinching beneath the brim of her borrowed hat. She planted herself in the open street, rifle loose in her grip. The crowd gasped. Crow's gaze landed on her. His smirk cut cruel. "And what's this?" he drawled. "A bride come to greet us?" Clara said nothing. She raised the rifle, just enough that the sunlight caught on its barrel. Her stance was calm, practiced. Not a flicker of fear crossed her face. Jonas's throat went dry. His heart hammered. He knew that steadiness, that quiet readiness. It wasn't a bluff. She'd done this before. Crow laughed low, tossing a coin into the dirt. 2 days, he repeated, his voice snapping like a whip. After that, there won't be a roof left standing. He swung onto his horse, his men following, their hoots and gunshots echoing as they rode out, leaving the town swallowed in dust and dread. When the silence returned, Clara lowered the rifle, her expression unchanged. Jonas stepped toward her, anger and fear tangled in his chest. "Are you mad?" he hissed under his breath. "You'll get yourself killed." Her eyes slid to his, steady as stone in the fading light. "I won't run," she said. Lanterns flickered to life one by one, glow stretching long across the dirt. Jonas felt the weight of the town's eyes upon them, fear sharp as a knife in every breath. The fire on the horizon burned brighter. The sun split the sky, white-hot and merciless, as riders thundered into town. Dust rose thick, choking, swirling around hooves and boots. Doors slammed, shutters clattered, children pulled screaming into hiding. Elias Crow swung down from his horse, black coat whipping in the wind. His men fanned out, rifles raised, faces hidden beneath scarves. The street lay bare, but for two figures. Jonas stood stiff, sweat trickling down his temple, hands empty at his sides. Beside him, Clara Boone held her rifle leveled steady, the barrel aimed square at Crow's chest. The gang jeered, their laughter raw and sharp. Crow smirked, stepping forward, boots sinking deep into the dust. "Last chance," he called. "Hand it all over, or I'll make ash of this town." The rifle in Clara's hands never wavered. Her voice rang clear, carrying across the silent street. "You'll find no ash here." Crow's smile faltered. He narrowed his eyes, studying her face. Recognition flickered. His voice dropped cold. "Widowmaker." Gasps shuddered through the onlookers hiding in the shadows. Jonas's breath caught. Widowmaker. The name rolled like thunder, a legend whispered in saloons and camps across the frontier. Clara's eyes hardened, the weight of years settling in them. "I laid that name to rest," she said. "But you've left me no choice." Crow spat, fury flashing. He motioned, and guns cocked all around. Jonas's heart pounded, hands trembling at his sides. Yet Clara's calm never broke. Then silence, the kind that stretches tight as a noose. A tumbleweed scraped across the dirt. The first shot rang out. Jonas flinched, ears ringing. Clara moved like lightning, rifle cracking, smoke curling from the barrel. One outlaw dropped, then another. The gang fired wild, bullets screaming past, splintering wood, shattering glass. Townsfolk cried out from cover. Jonas stumbled toward the fallen shotgun near the saloon door, his fingers closing tight around the grip. He raised it clumsily, heart thundering, and fired. The blast threw back a rider, the recoil jolting his shoulder near out of socket. Clara advanced step by step, eyes locked on Crow. Her rifle barked sharp, each shot placed clean, each man falling like wheat beneath a scythe. Crow drew his pistol, snarling, firing wild. Bullets tore the dust at her feet. She didn't flinch. The street narrowed to just the two of them, Crow with his wild grin, Clara with her steady hands. Jonas watched, frozen, the whole world holding its breath. Crow lunged, pistol raised. Clara fired once. The shot cut the air clean. Crow staggered, dropped to his knees, and fell silent into the dirt. The gang broke, scattering into the desert, their shouts fading on the wind. Clara lowered her rifle slow, chest rising steady. Jonas stepped to her side, shotgun limp in his hands. Around them, townsfolk emerged, eyes wide, mouths whispering the legend they had just seen made flesh. The Widowmaker stood in the dust, her secret no longer hidden, her place beside Jonas sealed in fire and smoke.